There we go. We are live. Monday, October 29th. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 game slate. I don't know why I don't ever check that out beforehand. Or maybe I do and I just forget the number. But 9 game slate tonight. A little bit of housekeeping first before we get started. 1, like and subscribe. Just helps. 2, NBA strategy promo code. Free 7 days along with Fantasy Cruncher if you're interested. Sign up. Take us for a test drive. 3, starting up process shows tomorrow. If you have anything that you would like to see me talk about, feel free to drop that in the comments. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at Fantasy Cruncher settings for the NBA. People have been looking for this one for a while, so we're going to do that tomorrow. But anything you want to see me cover, all season even, drop that stuff in the comments. No topic is a bad topic, so don't be afraid to drop that stuff out there. Adam, what's going on?
How's it going, man? How's your weekend?
Weekend, let's see. Saturday was good for DFS. Sunday was not. Surprise, surprise. NFL was garbage.
Shocked.
And NBA just not the right day, but
yeah,
I'll take it. Been a nice stretch to start the NBA season so far. How about you? How'd your weekend go?
Yeah, I got my ass kicked in basketball both nights, so that was a lot of fun. NFL, I broke even, which always feels like a really big win. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to get back to basketball today and get the taste of this weekend out of my mouth.
Yeah, just the NFL is just such a bummer. I'm never happy. I'm happy when lineups lock at 1 o'clock, and then I'm happy for like 40 minutes. And then I see someone score a touchdown that I don't have. Like, fuck, who was it yesterday? Seth Roberts, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I was like, cool. Like, I know that I shouldn't have a lot of him in this stack, but it couldn't have been anybody else. I had everyone else in abundance except for him. And it's like, of course he's the touchdown scorer. Of course Adrian Peterson scores on a touchdown pass. Like, I hate the NFL.
Yeah. I always say I'm not going to play, and then like Saturday, because I hadn't done any research yet, and so Saturday I get done with NBA, and I had planned on doing all my NFL work, and instead I decided to just go out for a couple hours. I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'll end up not playing NFL. It'll be a good weekend. I get home from the bar at like 1 a.m. and just start registering NFL shit and like researching them.
Yeah, that tends to happen. It's the worst. The NFL. Oh God. The only good thing about the NFL is Monday mornings, because I think more people are playing NBA contests because they either won or trying to make up for their losses. So the only saving grace.
Sunday NBA. I mean, I had a bad day yesterday, but in general, Sunday NBA has been nice this year because DraftKings is, I don't know about FanDuel, but DraftKings is just running monster tournaments on these like 3 and 4 game slates in the middle of NFL Sunday, and it's been pretty soft.
Yeah, FanDuel included the early game yesterday in their main slate, which was just a straight blast. Had to get those lineups locked at like 5 o'clock or whatever, and then wait 2 hours before the rest of the game started. So,
with no Westbrook news too.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, I didn't really care about the Westbrook news. I was projecting him in. He wasn't coming up in my stuff, and even at limited minutes, or not limited minutes, but like even accounting for that, I was still getting Dennis Schroeder. So I was like, okay, well, like whatever happens here, I'm happy. I guess I'm getting him when I think he's in. If he's out, it's only better.
Right. Yeah. One of my friends played FanDuel, and he messaged me yesterday. He's like, okay, so how is Westbrook only 3% owned, but Schroeder's only like 20?
Yeah.
Like, that one of those guys should be really high.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of Schroeder. Not that it mattered. I had quite a bit of the Wizards, and they were terrible. I mean, Wall was good on a per minute basis, but not anything else.
Wizards are just trash.
Okay, hold on. I got to make a quick switch here to say, hey, Mr. X, goodbye. You will no longer be back here ever again. Now we're good. Had to give somebody the old boot.
I'll say I have no idea what just happened.
Mr. X, just not a nice person in the chat, so they don't get to hang out here anymore. We got 9 games. We're going to be going for a while, so we should probably dive in unless you have anything else you want to touch on.
No, let's get started.
Cool. First game up, Indiana Pacers, Portland Trailblazers. Pacers 3.5-point favorites at home. 111.5 implied total. Blazers only 108. Shockingly low, in my opinion. The Blazers have the second lowest implied total for the slate, unless I typed this crap in wrong. That just surprises me.
Yeah, one of the lowest totals overall. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll start with the Pacers side. There's not a ton that I like here. Oladipo 9,000 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DK. I don't have like a problem with it. He's just sort of there. The only guy that came up on my first crunch, and I'm not entirely comfortable with it, was Darren Collison, but I can't imagine that I actually end up with the 21% Darren Collison that I got on my first draft. Do you like anything here for Indiana?
I could see getting the Collison too. Obviously, Tyreek Evans being back. I'm not convinced that it affects Collison's minutes much, but if they're on the floor together, it's just one more ball dominant scorer that he's playing alongside of. But in general, I think that Collison's price tag has gotten a little bit too low because Indiana's been involved in so many blowouts. You have him at 4,500 on DraftKings, and if we kind of extrapolate his first half minutes to a full game based on how Indiana's been going so far this year, projecting him for 28 to 30 minutes is pretty reasonable, assuming a game stays competitive. And I think that's just too cheap of a price tag. So I do have some interest there. Oladipo, I think you're right. On this slate, there's going to be most likely enough. It seems like a slate where there's going to be a ton of value and mid-range guys that open up as the day goes on. And assuming that happens, it's going to be really tough to prioritize, a 100% priced Oladipo.
Right. Miles Turner is $300 cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. I think that you can make a case for that just from a value perspective. But this game just doesn't, or at least the Pacers side of this game, just doesn't feel all that appealing.
Yeah, I agree completely.
There's no way I'll get to Evans. I can't imagine getting to Sabonis unless we get like weird news. Bojan is not a guy that I'm terribly interested in.
Revenge narrative against Sabonis' dad's team.
God, now we're digging deep. We're digging. Oh my God. So like if somebody said I really like Victor Oladipo today, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. It's not a spot where I would tell you that's a terrible play or anything. He's priced exactly where he should be. Because that's probably the only thing people are really looking for in this game. So I would not expect to end up with any Oladipo tonight. I would imagine that I'd be more likely to get to DeMar $200 cheaper. So
Portland so far this season, I just pulled it up because it's something I look at with Oladipo pretty much every slate. Portland, the 11th most efficient transition defense so far this season as well.
Okay. Yeah, I have the updated 4-factor stats on the screen right now for offense and defense, but nothing really standing out all that much.
They are allowing Portland has allowed the 8th most points per game in transition. So they're giving up a lot of transition opportunities. They're just efficient. Yeah, the 4th highest transition frequency, and 4th highest possessions per game. So they do let the other team get out in transition. It's just that they actually defend it well on a per possession basis.
One thing to note, Indiana 29th in the league in free throw rate. Portland 4th defensively. So might not be a spot where the Pacers pick up a lot of freebies. It's usually a nice way to pad your stats, but it's not the spot to get to the line for Indiana. So move on to Portland, where I'm going to take the same beating I've been taking for, how long has the season been going on now? 10 days? 2 weeks? We'll start with Dame, who is 10-2 on FanDuel, 9,400 on DK. I can't imagine wanting to play Dame today. With this low total, over 10K on FanDuel for the first time, and I can't even remember how long. I don't have any interest in Dame. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, he clearly has a ceiling, but the price tag's coming up because of a couple of back-to-back, monster games that, in part at least, were influenced by external factors such as fans screaming at him courtside and CJ McCollum being in foul trouble. So I kind of feel the same way about Lillard that I do Oladipo. Like, I just don't think there's a ton of value at his price tag. If he ends up in your lineups and you want to play him, fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He clearly has a 60-point ceiling. Yeah. He's done it 2 games in a row. It's just that from like an optimal roster construction format, it's near impossible, I think, to get up to him.
It's the highest his salary has ever been.
Wow.
On FanDuel. He's been at 10K before. Somebody could tell me that I may be wrong. I'm scrolling through Fantasy Cruncher just to look. The only thing I've ever seen him hit is 10K previously, and he's essentially lived in the high 8s, low 9s range, which is, where he should be. I can't imagine wanting to go there. I hope he gets ownership, but I doubt that he will.
He always gets ownership.
Yeah. Now, speaking of ownership, talk me out of this, I guess. CJ McCollum, 6,700 on FanDuel, 6,000 on DraftKings. I got 32% on my first crunch. I don't know how to nerf him. I don't know what to do.
So Portland's rotation last game was really weird, and we have Mo Harkless out this game, so I think it's going to be kind of tough to predict. But CJ McCollum got about 8 minutes at point guard without Dame Lillard that game, which if that is something that happens going forward, it only makes him more valuable, obviously. But even if he does go back to just playing alongside Lillard, the usage was still there this season. He's just been shooting worse than normal. He's still playing, 33, 34 minutes a night. Yeah. The price tag keeps falling. I'm going to just keep playing him until he has a good game. I mean, I don't like him nearly as much as I did last year when he was consistently getting, 8 to 12 minutes at point guard without Lillard, but the price tag isn't where it normally is either. So I think that more than makes up for it. And then, like I said, he was in early foul trouble last game. So I don't know if maybe they were just trying to get him his, minutes made up later in each half, but he played the full second quarter. He played the full fourth quarter, which, like I said, gave him about 8 minutes at point guard without Lillard. And that's a spot where he's going to see more usage. He's going to see more ball handling responsibilities and more assists. And if that rotation does continue, then it's going to make him just way more valuable than he already was.
Yeah, took 20 shots in that game, even being in foul trouble. He was not looking great at the half. He did start jamming it in late because I had a ton of CJ McCollum again, and I was quite aggravated. But got to 36 minutes. If he's going to take 20 shots, you have to keep taking him at 6,700. The thing that you were talking about with the assists, his assist total so far, 2.2421. That just needs to come up.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you expect it to be lower than it was in previous seasons because of him playing almost exclusively alongside Lillard until their last game. But I do still have him running bad in the assist department, even factoring that in.
Yeah.
Converting potential assist opportunities to actual assists, he's still been running bad. And then that number is going to just go up if he is playing backup point guard now, which Harkless being out as a trickle-down effect, I could see that being more likely because Evan Turner's minutes are going to end up being different. And you could see Turner maybe not running point as much with the second unit. So I don't know. I think that it's a complete toss-up whether we get those minutes, but the price tag is low enough that even if he doesn't, he's a good play. And if McCollum does get, backup point minutes, then it just becomes one of the better plays on the slate.
4 for 13 from the field, not including 3. So 4 for 13 from 2 in his most recent game. He was 4 for 16 against Washington in the game where he went 1 for 9. It's not like he's going to lose confidence and stop shooting. So right. Fire up CJ.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it since last game, but I think it was going into last game or the game before, he was 10 percentage points lower on his true shooting percentage this season compared to his career average.
Dog fan in chat says, what price do you not take CJ? 67 is expensive for 30 DK points. One, he's 67 on FanDuel and 6,000 on DK, but significantly higher than this is when you stop taking him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't look at the points for the reasons we just said. He's shooting the ball a ton. He's just not making his shots. And he's going to get back to his career averages in that department. So just looking and seeing how he's been playing is useless. You have to look at, his role. And at this price tag, even if you account for the decrease in assists playing alongside Lillard, he's still getting up a bunch of shots. He's just missing them. And that's not going to continue, every game.
Exactly. He's the only guy that I got except for a mild amount of Seth Curry at minimum salary on FanDuel, which is just a function of the way FanDuel operates. It's not like I'm recommending Seth Curry. I'll just have cheap guys.
Yeah.
But Nurkic, Aminu, I can't do it. I mean, Aminu at 4,500 on DK is fine.
Yeah. I always like Nurkic. 6,400 I think is just way too cheap for his upside. I think that barring foul trouble, this is a spot he should play, 32-ish minutes. And he's just a fantasy production monster, so I like him. And then Evan Turner at 4,100 I actually think is interesting as a value play. With Harkless out and Thad Young being an undersized 4, I think you could see more time for Turner kind of taking some of those Harkless minutes at the 4. He has had the ball in his hands a lot of potential assists this season, basically running point with the second unit, which could decrease the amount of he could lose some of that ball handling responsibility if McCollum is in fact the backup point guard again, which we don't really know. But either way, I think he does see a few extra minutes with Harkless out.
Do you think they would go to more Zach Collins instead of Turner by any chance?
I think so. Right now, I have Collins projected for like 4 minutes at the 4, which is more than he had been getting. But Indiana generally has been playing Sabonis alongside Turner for like around 4 minutes a game. I think that's a spot where you could go to either a Collins and Nurkic or a Collins and even Myers-Leonard front court. We saw them do it in their last game when Harkless was out, or Harkless got hurt mid-game, but in the second half, Myers-Leonard played a ton, and it was against a bigger front court where Miami was using Hassan Whiteside and Kelly Olynyk alongside each other. For the most part, Indiana is going to have one of Miles Turner and Sabonis out there alongside like Thad Young. So it's not going to be a spot where I expect Portland to run like a Twin Towers front court all that often. But I do think you could see, around 4 or 5 minutes at the 4 from Collins, in addition to his backup center minutes, which, would take him from 15 to 18 minutes to like 20 to 22.
Okay. Yeah. The reason that I mentioned it was an artifact of that Portland Magic game from a couple nights ago, when I looked in the old box score and noticed that they had Zach Collins guard Aaron Gordon for, a decent chunk of possessions that weren't manned by Al-Farouq Aminu. And I think that Collins should have an easier time guarding Thad Young compared to Aaron Gordon, or at least I would imagine he would. So
he didn't get extra minutes that game though.
Right.
Like he's still just
I have Collins in for 23. Just the way that the Pacers have 2 legitimate big men and no aversion to putting Collins on to like an old 3 that's now a 4. I could see it. So I could punt with Collins and take a shot at it, but I mostly just need him to hit like half court threes and stuff like he did in that Magic game.
Yeah, I mean he's a good point per minute guy. It's just that I have trouble being too optimistic about his minutes. So it kind of just becomes, if I'm playing a ton of lineups, like sure, he's cheap and not too much crazy stuff has to happen for him to get good run. But I don't think he gets more than a few minutes extra with Harkless out.
Works for me. Anybody else you want to touch on in this game?
Nik Stauskas is 3,500 on DraftKings. I think he's a pretty not clear, but he has the potential to be a nice beneficiary with Harkless out. Like if he's shooting well, there's minutes there for him to stay on the floor. So I can certainly see playing some of him. I have him projected for like 24 minutes right now at 3,500.
I have him in for 23. Fire up the Sauce Castillo, I guess. This one should be great. Philly and Atlanta. Philly 120 implied total. Basically tied with 4 other teams at 120 or higher. Atlanta 109. So Philly 11-point favorites at home. I didn't get much of Embiid or Simmons on my first crunch. Embiid 11K on FanDuel, 10K on DK. Simmons 10.5 on FanDuel, 9,700 on DraftKings. Do you have a preference between the two, or are you looking to either of these guys in this particular game?
I mean, I do like the spot because Atlanta is just they play fast. They have actually been pretty decent defensively so far, but I don't necessarily expect that to continue. So I don't have an aversion to either guy, but I kind of doubt that I end up prioritizing either one. Like 10,000 for Embiid, we've talked about it a lot, especially in tournaments. I prefer going mid-range at center when I can, just because we know Embiid has a 60-point ceiling, but there are always mid-range centers that can put up 50 like Yusuf Nurkic and stuff. So I think that normally going mid-range to center is a way that I can kind of maximize my ceiling, even though I really like Embiid. Simmons, I think the price tag is still kind of low for him. He's a triple-double threat every time he goes out, but he's less likely to go out and give you like a monster triple-double like a LeBron or a Giannis. So I think it's an okay spot for him. But again, on a slate where you have Giannis or LeBron in a phenomenal spot against the Timberwolves, you have Giannis who's questionable but potentially playing. You have Anthony Davis potentially playing. I think that it'll be kind of hard for me to actually end up prioritizing Simmons.
Yeah, I'm with you. And he's normally a guy that I'm not on all that much, which is weird considering I was on him a lot. Was it Saturday? Friday? When did they play last?
Yeah, I had him a ton on Saturday.
Yeah, he didn't play well, but it was nice for me to see that he pops up in my model for once.
Yeah.
Because it's rare.
Yeah. Atlanta, the fourth most efficient transition defense so far.
Okay. I didn't really get any exposure to the Philly side of this game outside of a sprinkle of Markelle Fultz, but Covington 6,300 on FanDuel. He's 5,400 on DK. It's fine, but he's not someone I'm getting to. I didn't get to any Saric. Do you like anything here? Wilson Chandler could potentially be back, which could mess with, well, all sorts of shit for this particular team.
If Chandler comes back, it just becomes a mess.
Yeah.
If he's out, I think looking at DraftKings pricing, Covington would be my favorite play.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of spot where I think that you could see a nice game from him. It's, a fast-paced game, but also he will be tasked with defending a high-usage guy in Taurean Prince, and that increases the potential for defensive stats from Covington in addition to, transition threes and everything. So the price tag is just low enough for him that he would be the guy that I'm most interested in from Philly.
Atlanta's been middle of the pack on giving up threes. They're limiting corner threes, or they're limiting non-corner threes, but they're getting pretty bludgeoned by corner threes, just in case anybody is interested in that. If anybody else you want to touch on from the Philly side? Like you said, if Wilson Chandler plays, I have a hard time recommending anybody that's not named Embiid or Simmons.
Yeah, it would, I think, end up just flattening out minutes for like everyone.
Yeah. Move to Atlanta. Trae Young, 7,300 on FanDuel, 7,200 on DK, the most expensive guy on the Hawks. I got a little bit at 7,300 on FanDuel. I'm fine with it, I guess. But it's not something I'm terribly excited about. I don't know. It's Trae Young. I don't like Trae Young. Is that a bad take?
Well, so I don't think either of us follow college. I know I don't.
I never saw him play in college. I can say that much.
Okay, I saw him play like one half, but I heard of him when he was in college, and I'd seen him, make ridiculous threes. So I like Trae Young just because that's my knowledge base with Trae Young, and I like shooters. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been playing him a lot this season. I don't think this is a spot that I'm going to be, overly excited to get to him. The minutes are nice when he's not in foul trouble, and there's certainly usage and assist opportunities for him. But on this slate, I think that, like with Elfrid Payton out, the guard positions already, you have clear value and underpriced guys with, Ian Clark and Drew Holiday. So there's already opportunity cost at the guard positions. It's 9:47 in the morning on a 9-game slate. There's going to be more stuff that opens up. So I can already say right now, I'd be surprised if I end up prioritizing Trae Young.
Agreed. I don't have a ton of interest in Prince here. 7,300 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DK. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the price point, but I mean, at Philly is not really a great spot for the Hawks.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough one.
So I'll have a little bit, like I got a small amount of Bazemore. I got a small amount of Dedmon at 4,500 on FanDuel. The guy that I'm getting the most, and it's been mentioned in the chat now, Deandre Bembry, 4,400 on FanDuel. Kind of just fits the profile of someone that's a decent play just because of his price point. Do you like Bembry here? Should be a decent value, 4,100 on DK.
I don't hate it. It's like in the Evan Turner range for me, where I don't expect him to have a good game, but there's not that many things that need to go haywire for him to run into one. He played what, 27 minutes last game, but I don't expect that. He picked up 3.5 extra minutes at the end of the first half, closing the half over Trae Young, who I don't really know why it happened. He wasn't in foul trouble, but I have trouble predicting Bembry to close over Trae Young. And then he picked up a bunch of minutes in the second half in what just kind of looks like a weird game. So still, I mean, I would project him for like 23, 24 instead of 26, 27. But he's a guy that I would also expect to be out there if this game does blow out. And I don't factor in blowouts to my projections at all. But as we just talked about, we're not really high on the Philadelphia side, and it doesn't seem like we're really high on the Atlanta side either. So in spots like that, from, I guess, for lack of a better word, like a portfolio standpoint, it makes sense to be a little bit more optimistic on guys like Bembry because if this game stays competitive, it's making my night worse as a whole because I'm not that high on it. And so if it blows out, why not just kind of like maximize my return by having a guy that plays the whole fourth quarter?
It's a great take. I completely agree. Bembry's the kind of guy where so far it seems like he's a perfectly acceptable per minute guy at this point, and he has the opportunity for additional minutes if this goes poorly. Like, I don't see him suddenly getting 16 minutes. Like, I don't think his playing time is super in flux, but there's the upside of additional time if this game sucks for Atlanta. And I don't think that Atlanta being bad has anything to do with Bembry's ceiling. So
yeah. And also, I was wrong. He most of those minutes were coming over Vince Carter, which makes me feel a lot better than because he was like subbing in at the same time Trae Young was going out, but it has still been Jeremy Lin just coming in for Young. So getting minutes over Vince Carter is a lot more sustainable, I think, than getting them over Trae Young.
I have two more names from the Hawks that we need to talk about. I don't like it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I'm probably going to even whiff on this pronunciation. Kevin Herter?
I think it's Herter. I'm not sure.
Herter?
You went to University of Maryland. I should know, but I don't.
I'd be more likely to know if you went to like UMBC. now that Maryland isn't in a real conference,
yeah,
I can never remember.
UMBC is though.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, 3,700 on FanDuel. Just a potential punt play, and Jeremy Lin is minimum salary on FanDuel. Is that crazy?
Yes, because he's still not. So he
played 19 minutes in
he got
really weird ways.
Yeah, he got like 4 alongside Trae Young, which like I can't play Lin until he starts playing alongside Young because Young's not going to the bench. He like just playing his direct backup outside of games where he's in foul trouble or gets hurt isn't going to get you anywhere. But if they ever start playing them alongside each other, then you're going to get a really, really, really cheap Jeremy Lin. He played the last 30 seconds of the third quarter and the first 2 and 13 of the fourth quarter. So he played like 2 minutes and 40 seconds alongside Trae Young against Miami. I mean, I'm certainly not doing it on DraftKings. If you wanted to drop him on FanDuel, then
right,
whatever.
I don't know. He just popped up for me, and at minimum salary, I was like, hey, it's worth a look. I trust him when he's on the floor at the very least. Who knows?
Like I would still project him for 14 minutes here.
Yeah, I have him in for 16 right now.
Because like I still can't project him to play alongside Young because outside of fluke minutes a couple of times, it just isn't happening. And so if I project Young for 15, I have Lin. For 35, I have Lin for like 13. But it makes some sense, on FanDuel just because there's going to be a game at some point this season. Jeremy Lin will start playing alongside Trae Young, I would expect. And when that happens, we probably won't know beforehand.
Yeah.
And when it happens, anyone who happens to have Jeremy Lin in their lineup is going to be looking at a lot of money. So on FanDuel, where you can just drop him until that happens in some lineups, it makes a lot more sense.
There we go. Anything else for Atlanta, Philly?
The Dedmon Len crapshoot. Like if you get it right, you're going to be in a good spot because they're both cheap. Dedmon didn't play any time alongside Len. He was just playing.
God, they should not do that.
Playing the 5. Well, like I could see them doing it against bigger front courts. Dedmon can actually
play the Jazz or something.
Yeah, I mean Dedmon can space the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the point being, like Len had an awful game. He only played 17 minutes. We got 27 from Dedmon. So it's really good to see that Dedmon is not on any sort of minutes limit anymore. That only lasted 1 game. And there's certainly potential for him to have a big game. I would prefer him over Len here because he's a better defender as well.
Yeah.
And
that was my thought process when I looked at it.
Yeah. So I definitely prefer Dedmon to Len. The caveat would be that and I kind of doubt this happens on a 9-game slate, but if for some reason the industry as a whole is just in love with Dedmon at a cheap price chasing that last game, then Len becomes just the really clear pivot because if Dedmon plays less minutes, Len plays more.
We have ownership projections, and they are posted. Sweet. I don't know. I just noticed that they're posted now, so I'm going to pull up FanDuel's side, dump them into my sheet. Yeah, Dedmon is $1,000 cheaper than Alex Len on. Oh my! Ooh. Who do you think the chalk play is on DraftKings right now? He's the second chalkiest guy on FanDuel, if it helps.
Ian Clark.
I wish.
Drew Holiday.
Nope.
It's got to be somebody from the Pelicans, right?
It's not. It's exactly who it should be. It's just gross.
I have no idea.
It would be one Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh.
I can't right now. Who were we just talking about?
Dedmon and Len.
Yeah. Okay. Dedmon is at 7% right now on FanDuel. And
is he a forward or a center there?
Question. He's a center.
That sucks.
On DraftKings, Dedmon is 5%. Len is not owned.
Dedmon also has forward eligibility on DraftKings, so that makes it easier.
There we go. Team Dedmon tonight. I will definitely have some nice little punt for 4,500 on on FanDuel.
Yeah, plenty of upside for him. You know, if it's not like it's a safe spot, but he's cheap enough that he can pretty easily just smash that price tag.
Definitely. Man, that is some interesting ownership. Lillard essentially unowned on FanDuel, which I agree with. CJ projected 10% on FanDuel. I hope that holds. I'll be triple that. Making sure we didn't miss anybody else. Indiana side. Oladipo at 12% on FanDuel. Nothing crazy. Okay. Oh, Trae Young. We got Trae Young at 2% on FanDuel. I'll have more than that. Ugh, Trae Young. Not a fan. Miami and Sacramento. Yuck. 117.5 implied total for the Heat. 109.5 for the Kings. 8-point favorites for Miami at home. Wayne Ellington back. Not that you would notice from a box score. Keep an eye on that. Hassan Whiteside, 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,700 on DK. It's a flat no for me.
I'll go right back there on DraftKings.
Really?
Yeah. It's a spot where he's going to stay on the floor. He's going to play. He should play like 33 against Cauley Stein. So I mean, it's a spot where it's an inefficient shooting team in Sacramento. So it finally happened too, by the way. He played 34.5 minutes against Portland. Like he had been in foul trouble or blowouts like every game this season where he should stay on the floor. Finally got it against Portland, and I would expect the same thing here against a big Sacramento front court that isn't going to shoot him off the floor. So, 33, 34 minutes from Whiteside here at 7,700 with plenty of block upside and, a really good rebounding spot. I like Whiteside a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to what you said to start because this is going to be the only spot where we're differing, and that's causing my lowness. I have him in for 26 minutes.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Okay. That's sort of where I'm at now. Miami's such a tough team for me. Like I just see, Whiteside, it's an okay start for him, and all of a sudden Kelly Olynyk and Bam play 30 minutes.
Kelly hasn't been playing like any center though. And then Bam's just been like the direct backup to Whiteside. Like every game,
you're going over 30 minutes easy for Whiteside. You wouldn't think twice.
Yeah, not thinking twice. I mean, I've been projecting him for like 33, 34 a night, and the only reason he hasn't been getting there is because either foul trouble or blowout. Like the Knicks game, he played I think 27 minutes in 3 quarters, didn't step on the floor in the fourth. There was a game before that he ran into foul trouble early. Like the game against Portland was I think the first game this season, first or second, that has actually been competitive for 4 quarters, and Whiteside wasn't in foul trouble. Played 34.5 minutes. Even the game against Washington, where we were expecting him to get run off the floor by Washington's small ball unit, he played 28 minutes, and that was because of foul trouble. He actually stayed out there. So yeah, I think his minutes are a lot more solidified than he's getting credit for.
Okay, I'm looking. I don't disagree. I'm shocked that he played 7.5 minutes to close the second quarter, and then the first 9 minutes and 52 seconds of the third quarter against Portland.
Yeah. And what we're talking about is a big reason why I like Whiteside even more, because like it's kind of across the industry looking at different stuff. He's projected for like 27, 28 minutes. And I think that's just incorrect. And he's such a high per minute guy that I'm going to end up with him projected just so much higher than a lot of people are.
So where would you be slotting in Olynyk's minutes right now?
If he starts again, then I think probably around 28, like we saw against Portland.
Okay,
but
so who's taking the minutes haircut for this team now? Is it Winslow?
So Winslow played like 19 in that game. So I guess that's where it gets tricky. I wouldn't feel confident in Olynyk because Winslow, as his minutes increase, he's going to cut into those minutes at the 4 for Olynyk, especially with Ellington. If Ellington rejoins the rotation, Ellington didn't play at all that game either.
Right, craziness.
Yeah, so Olynyk's the one where I don't feel confident at all in his minutes. The thing that helps him is that it is a big Sacramento front court, so he can certainly be out there, plenty against Bagley and Bielitsa. So I don't feel confident, but I think that's where you're going to see the minutes change. Like Olynyk just hasn't been playing the 5 when before he got this 28-minute game. Like when all the guys were out, he wasn't getting minutes because he was just backing up Derek Jones at the 4. It's basically been Bam getting all the run behind Whiteside and then Olynyk playing at the 4. So I'm not concerned about, especially in this spot against the Sacramento front court and the way they match up. I'm not really concerned about Olynyk suddenly taking a bunch of minutes from Whiteside. It's just a matter of who gets the minutes at the 4, whether it's Olynyk or Winslow or someone else.
Okay. It's I bumped up Whiteside's minutes to 29. I'm nervous about it for some reason. I'm gonna have to dig into it a little bit further. More than anything, and I just prefer Towns for $500 more.
Never Towns.
It might be Never Towns. I watched that first half. I've never seen someone with that sort of body language on the floor. He bailed it out a little bit and got to like 33 FanDuel points late, but he looked just downright gross to the point where I remember DMing you and being like, they should just trade Towns.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a good spot for Towns and we'll get there, but I don't know, to me, and again, it's just so easy without even having to look at like ownership projections. I can basically guarantee Towns is higher owned for more money.
Yeah.
And Whiteside's a better permanent producer, I think, playing very similar minutes in an also not bad matchup against Sacramento. So it's just a pretty clear cut, at least on DraftKings, Whiteside for me.
Yeah, Whiteside at 7,700 on DK is a nice point for him. I'd go that direction.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited.
I hate it. I'm the opposite. This Heat team is, in my opinion, a gigantic trap.
I think that the entire team is a trap except for Whiteside because we've seen such a stable center rotation this season. Like every single game, regardless of matchup, regardless of if the game goes small, it's been Whiteside and Adebayo with heavy preference going to Whiteside.
Yeah.
Everything else, I think, is an absolute mess because we don't know when or if Ellington's going to get minutes. We don't know who he's going to take minutes from. Kelly Olynyk apparently only gets minutes when the entire team is healthy. It's everything else is a mess to me. Outside of Whiteside, Dragic, he'll get his minutes, and Dwayne Wade, is going to get his 22 or whatever off the bench.
Dwayne Wade is really the minutes that just do not belong on this team whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, they would have no scoring with that second unit, though.
Move stuff around, then. It's Dwayne Wade. Just play Ellington. Dwayne Wade does not fit this modern NBA. I hate Dwayne Wade. Ugh. Anything else for Miami? I don't trust it. Goran Dragic, 6,700 on FanDuel, I think is sneaky. But
yeah, I don't have an issue with Dragic.
He's been not great.
He's always like a secondary guy for me.
He's $1,000 cheaper than De'Aaron Fox today.
I would take Dragic.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a hot take, but I would take Dragic.
I want to see who else is around him. Lonzo is $200 more expensive. There's a guy $100 cheaper than Dragic that I'm taking a look at. We'll get there eventually. We're getting a question from Slack. You don't think the Kings will go big with Willie and Bagley? I can't go on the Bagley train yet. Can I?
I mean, I don't understand the question. They do that every game.
Yeah, I know. I don't
they will
either.
do that.
Let's take a look at Sacramento. I have 2 people in this game getting any popping up in my crunches. A small amount of Bagley. I'm slowly lowering his minutes. I've only got him in for 25 here.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're getting there. Still popping up though, because he's been really efficient. Well, for Bagley at least. And then I got a little bit of Shumpert at 3,700. That's not a take that I'm looking for or anything. Just 3,700. So Willie Cauley-Stein, 6,100 on DK. I'm sure you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's. I think you mentioned it the other day. He's just always too cheap on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't understand it. There's clearly something that he does that, like, if they ran a regression on stats and salary, like, he would be one of the guys with the biggest variance, I would expect, just because he's just always there. But for some reason, he doesn't sort of have that same cachet on like other sites, like FanDuel. Like, it wiggles on FanDuel. I feel like it never wiggles on DK.
Do you want me to say something about Bagley? Because I don't think you're gonna like it.
I'm sure I'm not.
He played like 8 minutes at the 5 against Washington, so that's like 2 games in a row that he's basically like replaced Terry Giles. Giles played 4 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
Bagley still only played 23 minutes, but I think that we're seeing the path to him getting more minutes, because when he's just directly Bielitsa's backup, you run into whenever Bielitsa plays well, you're just losing Bagley minutes. But now he's basically playing backup center. And this is a spot where I think that will work perfectly fine against Adebayo. So, yeah, I could see Bagley getting, even if you project Bielitsa for, 32 or 34 minutes or whatever, I could see Bagley still getting up into the mid-20s.
I guess I need to bump my B Jelly projection for minutes. I don't like this Kings team, man. I don't know. I have these like Marvin Bagley blinders on, and I have no idea why.
I liked the Kings a lot more when they had a bunch of guys who were irrelevant for fantasy from a production standpoint. Now they have a bunch of guys who are very relevant. We just have no idea how much they're going to play.
That's a very good point. Do you like B Jelly at 5,300 on DK? It seems like a nice spot.
Yeah, I don't love him because, again, it's the Kings and the minutes are just so unstable. Yeah. But for the most part, we've seen when he's not in foul trouble and when he's playing well, he's going to play a bunch of minutes. It's not a spot, especially if we get Olynyk starting again, that I'm concerned about whatsoever from a defensive standpoint. So, yeah, I still do like him.
Chat's freaking out about McGruber.
Why?
I don't know.
Isn't he he was 5,300 last game on... I mean, he's been playing well, but the minutes are just going to start going down.
He's 6,100 on DraftKings. I have zero interest there. He's 5,600 on FanDuel. I guess I have more interest, but I don't have like a ton of interest. Who else is around him?
He played 33 minutes last game. It looks like shot incredibly efficiently. 1 for 3, 2 for 6, 4 for 8. He was like 5 for 9 from the field, I think.
Yeah, I'd rather take a shot at, I don't know, Brogdon or Josh Hart.
Yeah, so my thing with Magruder, it's not that I dislike him. It's not that I, don't like the matchup. It's that to start the season, he was locked into, 34 to 36 minutes, and he was really, really cheap. And he performed well. So now you've seen the price tag go up. And now he's kind of, instead of being locked into 34 or 36 minutes that he's priced for, he's unlikely to play that much. And he's kind of minutes ceilinged out at like 33 to 34, with the downside of Ellington could rejoin the rotation, Winslow could play more minutes, and then suddenly you're paying a premium for 26 or 28 minutes of Magruder, I think is a more likely possibility than that he goes out there and plays like 37. And so to me, it's just like paying a premium for past production.
Completely agree. No Magruder for me. I actually have my model projecting him 8% higher than his normal like fantasy points per possession rate, and I still don't get him. So yeah, I couldn't even adjust him up if I wanted to.
Yeah, like fast-paced game against the bad defense. Like he should perform well. It's just that I have trouble paying that price for his current role, with the condition that he could probably at some point in the near future start having a few minutes shaved off.
There we go. Anything else from this game?
Not that I'm like in love with. I mean, Cauley Stein, Bielitsa, Bagley, I think would be the guys I like the most from the Kings.
There we go. Finally getting on the train. Knicks and Nets. They just played, didn't they? I feel like I made a Battle in New York joke.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah. Really sticking in my mind. 109.75 implied total for the Knicks. 107.75 for the Nets. So Knicks 2-point favorites at home. Fascinating.
Have we gotten any word on what the hell they plan on doing with their lineup today?
No. Not that I'm aware of, at least.
Because like before the Warriors game, it sounded like it was just like a matchup with the Warriors issue, but then they played reasonably well. So now I'm expecting this to like, I don't know, them to have some weird lineup today.
Sorry. I just got a message, so I'm trying to make sure that I don't forget about it.
Moutier is probable, so that's going to mess up things even more.
Oh, God, don't bring him back.
Not only are they bringing him back, but David Fizdale believes that Emmanuel Moutier is the best passer on the Knicks, and he will eventually be the starting point guard.
I don't even know what this. I don't have him projected in right now. And I don't really have any piece of the Knicks outside of Vonleh at 4,400 on FanDuel, but Cantor 7,700 on FanDuel, 75 on DK. Not a direction I'm going.
If Cantor starts, I like him a lot.
Sure.
I assume he's going to start.
I don't.
I think that was just he can't be on the floor against the Warriors issue.
Maybe. This one is very subject to change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to break this one down now. But to me, I'd be really, really surprised if Cantor doesn't start. Where I think it could end up getting messy is I have no idea if Trey Burke comes back to the starting lineup. I have no idea if Dotson starts. So projecting the wing and backcourt minutes, I think is really tough. I fully expect Cantor to be back in the lineup, though.
I will be very surprised if I have much of anything of this game. I don't think that I would even get to Cantor just in general. 7,700 on FanDuel is pretty expensive. He's $600 more expensive than Nurkic. Like, I'd rather just have Nurkic in that scenario. I'd rather pay $1,100 less and go to JaVale, or $1,400 less and go to like Julius Randle. Even paying $200 more and going to DeAndre Jordan or something. Cantor's just not in the spot at 7,700 where I'm that interested.
Yeah, I haven't done my projections yet, but assuming he's back in the starting lineup, I would expect that I end up with him projected for like 44, 45 DraftKings points in this spot.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I would be at like, if he was starting, I would bump up his minutes a little bit. I would probably get him in like the 36, 37 range, which seems
points,
to be on.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying what?
no, DK points. So that's where we'd be on this similar scale.
Yeah.
No Dotson right now for me. I can't imagine Dotson for me at all. He came up 7% right now, but that I don't see that holding by the time I get to lock.
What if he ends up in the starting lineup again?
We have him projected for no ownership. I got him 7% of the time. I wouldn't change that. Let's put it that way.
Have the Knicks already said Cantor's coming off the bench? I'm trying to go back and like read stuff.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I just saw him like marked somewhere as not starting, but that's probably just old news.
Yeah.
Like that, it would just be really weird to me. Like, I don't think it was a coincidence that the team that forces Cantor on the switches every time they play and just embarrassed him the entire time he was on the Thunder is when Fizdale decided to say, "Hey, this guy that's been playing really well this season, I'm going to not play him. Or I'm going to not have him out there against like Steph Curry."
This team, yeah, and then we're like, "Oh, we'll play Mitchell Robinson instead."
Right.
He should be fine against the Warriors.
Yeah, so until we hear otherwise, I'm assuming that was not a coincidence. Like, Cantor's been really good this season.
Yeah. Donnie Ray in chat. Cantor off the bench? ? Seriously? I mean, he shouldn't even play for the Knicks. The Knicks are garbage. They should just play Mitchell Robinson 30 minutes and figure out what's going on. It's not like Cantor's part of the future, but he's good. But he he will have no role with the New York Knicks as any sort of successful team ever. Unless for some reason they turn him into like a long-term piece, which I would imagine.
What about when they get Durant this offseason?
I'm going to go ahead and assume that they won't have Cantor at that point.
Yeah.
Just a guess. Brooklyn.
Okay, but yeah, so anyway, if Cantor does rejoin the starting lineup, he's easily my favorite guy here. Tim Hardaway, I think, is fine as well.
Yeah, you can make a case for Hardaway at 6,700, but it's just this team, man.
And
Hardaway
Dotson starts at 4,800. I'll have some interest.
Yeah, it's a team that needs a lot more information. Tune into the deeper dive starting at 5 p.m. tonight if you want an update on the Knicks.
Hopefully by the time Lofty and I are on, we have an idea.
Yeah. Quick plug: like and subscribe, people. Promo code NBA Strategy. I'm getting it all in really quickly. From A to B at 2:30. Deeper dive at 5. Myself, Fast Eddie Fear, 6 p.m. live before lock. All sorts of good stuff for Mondays. Brooklyn. I didn't get anybody more than 1% here, so I'm sure everybody's going to be like, let's play Karis LeVert or something. I won't be. What about you? You want Karis LeVert?
I like Karis LeVert. I highly doubt that I end up with a lot of him just because of how the slate goes. Yeah, I don't know. Brooklyn's just kind of a mess. Like, you have Hollis Jefferson back playing some minutes. You have Dinwiddie still getting minutes, alongside Russell and as the backup. Jared Allen, I think, is the most interesting. 5,400 on DraftKings for Jared Allen, I think, is a really, really nice price. He's the one that I would assume that I end up with the most of from Brooklyn.
Yeah, 5,400 on DK is pretty difficult to pass up. He's 6,900 on FanDuel. That makes it pretty easy to pass up.
Yeah.
Look, you can make a case for a lot of these guys. Would it shock you if Dinwiddie had a big game against the Knicks? No. Would it shock you if... I mean, I can name just about anybody here. It's the Knicks. Knicks defense, though.
Yeah.
7th in effective field goal percentage this year. I don't know. Whatever that means. I won't have any part of the Nets, really, unless we get news that like people won't play and minutes can move up. But I think everybody's just generally priced correctly on FanDuel, and I don't really trust anybody's output.
Yeah, I agree with that.
These early games are rough, man.
Yeah, this slate just feels tough to me because there's so many moving pieces. Like, not tough to play, just like tough to analyze.
Yeah. Speaking of games that may be tough to analyze, you have anything else for Brooklyn or New York?
Nope.
Chicago Bulls.
It's weird seeing the lowest total on the slate in a Brooklyn New York game.
It really is. This whole slate's just Bulls and Warriors, which should just be an absolute bloodbath. 109.75 for the Bulls, 120.75 for the Warriors. They are 11-point favorites in Chicago. We'll start on the Chicago side. Zach Lavine, 8,400 on FanDuel, 7,800 on DraftKings. There's no way I'm playing him here.
It's really tough for me because I like the price tag, and I'm not going to project this game to blow out. But I'm also just terrified to play Zach Lavine in this spot.
They are going to abuse the living shit out of him and Jabari Parker. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. He's okay. I doubt that I end up with much.
I'd rather be mad that he played well and I didn't have him.
Yeah. I will say, if you end up with a bunch of Steph Curry or Kevin Durant or something, go through and swap Zach Lavine into the lineups that have those guys.
Jabari Parker, 7,000 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DK. Look, that's a great price for him on DK. But if this goes the way that it could, he might play 7 minutes and get roasted in pick and rolls for those 7 minutes, and they're just like, well, fuck it, we can't run him back out there.
But they can't put anybody else in either, and he's been getting blowout run too.
I don't know what to do with this. They could just play no one because it's already over.
Yeah.
This is such a bad matchup. It's insane. Lavine and Jabari Parker are like the all-star team of guys that the Warriors should roast the most.
That is true. Yeah, I know this game's a mess. Sprinkle in cheap guys, and if you're max entering, if you're playing 5 to 10 lineups, I think it's pretty easy to not really prioritize anything.
Yeah, I think that you can use Jabari in a GPP on DK. I think you could use Wendell Carter at 4,700. but I have a really hard time seeing this game stay close. I don't know what the Bulls could possibly like. What's the path to make this game not awful?
Steph and Durant have a bad shooting game.
I love that it has nothing to do with the Bulls. It's just like like shots didn't fall.
Right. I mean, Cameron Payne's another one. Like, he's too cheap for his role, but it's just such a shitty spot. Chandler Hutchison at 3,400. You'd have to imagine that he would play a lot, kind of regardless.
Yeah. I don't have a problem there.
He only played, 18 minutes last game, but he picked up his third personal foul 1 minute and 20 seconds into the second quarter, which he had started. So it kind of looks like he was on pace to play big minutes again, and then it kind of just went haywire where he lost the entire second quarter, and then they closed with some weird-ass lineup that I'm not projecting to ever close again. So, yeah, I think Hutchison actually is a pretty interesting value option. Especially, I assume that you're going to see Ian Clark end up being popular, and Hutchison is $200 more expensive. Neither one is a high usage guy. There are guys that potentially could eat into Ian Clark's minutes. So from like a large field tournament standpoint, pivoting from Ian Clark to Hutchison ownership wise probably puts you in a pretty nice spot potentially.
I like it. I had a decent amount of Hutch Friday or Saturday, whatever day they played. 4K on FanDuel. It's worth a shot. He should be able to get the minutes. This game is just, it should be a disaster for Chicago. I kind of want to watch it, or at least the first quarter, just to see.
Steph's going to break the 3-point record in the first quarter.
Yeah. I've been dude's price just doesn't change. Do you have anything else you want to touch on in Chicago? I don't have anything to say here.
No, my analysis for Golden State's the same every single game.
Durant 10-6 and 10-4. Should be fine.
Yeah.
Steph Curry 9-8 and 10-2. I've been mashing Curry. Basically every night I have like 40% Curry because he's under 10K on DraftKings or on FanDuel.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. Like, I need to start probably forcing in a percentage of him because he's just someone that I never project to be. He never projects as a top play, but he clearly has one of the higher ceilings any given night.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening over the course of a season is most nights it doesn't matter that I don't have him, but then there's like a handful of slates where I have zero shot at winning because I didn't force Steph Curry in the lineups.
He is such a great thing to see on like House of Highlights when they have a minute clip of him just dropping threes from everywhere. The crowd's going nuts. Like, he hit one yesterday and Iguodala turned around before the ball even left his hand. He was already dancing and shit on the bench. It's just, I love that stuff.
Clay's probably the best play from the Warriors, right?
6,200 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DK. Yeah, it would be hard to not want to have some Clay. He's been real cold to start, right? Like, stupid cold.
Yeah, very. But I mean, the minutes are there. The matchup's phenomenal.
I don't know how many games have the Warriors played? 5?
I think 4 or 5.
Last 5 games. Here are Klay Thompson's 3 numbers.
They played 7.
Really?
Yeah.
OKC was the opener, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. 1 for 8, 0 for 2, 1 for 6, 1 for 6, 1 for 5, 0 for 4, 1 for 5. So he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for like a shit ton.
That's that from 3.
Yeah. 5, 9, so 14, 20, 26, 28, 36. So he's 5 for 36 from 3. Holy hell. Yeah, jam in your Clay.
Yeah.
39.6
overall this season, 13.9% from 3. 39.6 overall. His career numbers, he is
40.
He's 45.7 overall and 41.9 from 3. So, yeah.
Get your Clay now. I'm fine with anybody in these first 4. Durant, Curry, Draymond, Clay.
Clay is the only one I'll be prioritizing.
I'm going to have more Curry than any of those 4, but I like Clay at 5,600 on DK a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the rest of the team. I'm not paying attention to Looney or Alfonso McKinney or whatever. All right, now we can talk about good games now. Bucks and Raptors. Bucks 110.25 implied total. Raptors 112.25. Raptors are 2-point favorites in Milwaukee. Keep that in mind. We'll start with Giannis. I'm going to give you the floor while I go fill my water. So talk about Giannis. And if I'm not back by the time you're done talking about Giannis, talk about Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah. So I'm kind of torn on what to do here because I think, as everyone knows by this point, I absolutely love Giannis. Like, he's, to me, the most valuable fantasy player in the league, just because production's so concentrated to basically three guys on Milwaukee with Middleton, Bledsoe, Giannis, and then Giannis just dominates basically everything out of those three guys in terms of usage, assist percentage, rebounding. We've seen his rebounding numbers, just go through the roof. But at the same time, absolutely brutal spot here going against a Toronto defense that is very good. Obviously, adding Kawhi Leonard makes them a lot better. They're going to be good in transition this season, I would expect. They've been good overall defensively. So, and Giannis is questionable to play. So in cash games, I'm not going to Giannis. Like, I would rather play LeBron in a great spot against Minnesota, who we'll talk about in a few minutes. But it sets up, I think, to be a really, really good tournament spot for Giannis, because the matchup sucks. But bad matchups don't make you have a lower ceiling. They make you less likely to hit them. They make you have a lower median projection. But everyone knows that Giannis against Toronto is a tough matchup, and people are going to be very hesitant to pay. He's 11,600 on DraftKings with a questionable tag in a tough matchup. People are going to be questionable, or going to be hesitant to go there, and it's going to give you the opportunity to get what I think is the most valuable DFS player at a very, very low ownership percentage. And that's kind of what you're looking for in tournaments. So I'm not going there in cash games. Like, if I can get up to that price range again, like, I would just much, much rather go to LeBron. But if you're going to get Giannis at really low ownership, I don't really care what the matchup is. The guy's just been an absolute monster this year. He contributes in so many different ways, and he's just an absolute freak. So he's matchup proof. So in tournaments, I still like him quite a bit. I'm lower on Bledsoe and Middleton just because I expect that difficult matchups will have a little bit more effect on them because they are more, secondary players. Bledsoe's price tag on DraftKings in general is pretty inexpensive for his ceiling at 6,100. I don't mind that. It's kind of the same thought process as Giannis. He's going to be really low owned, and he certainly can outperform a $6,100 price tag easily. Just based on his role and his skill level at scoring. But I'm not really going to be interested in going there in cash games just because the matchup's so tough. Like, I would rather go to like a Drew Holiday for a little bit more expensive, but I do think that price tag's nice. Middleton's the one out of the three that I have the least interest in. And then Brook Lopez at only 4,200 on DraftKings, I think, is in a pretty nice spot here. He's probably going to play, upper 20s, maybe low 30s in minutes against, Serge Ibaka and Valanciunas. But to me, the price tag's just dropped enough to where he obviously is very volatile, but in tournaments, I think he gives you a really high ceiling.
Giannis's ownership on FanDuel right now projected to be 13%. We have LeBron at 4%.
I'd be shocked if what's the price difference?
LeBron is 11.8. Giannis is 11.5.
I'd be really surprised if LeBron's lower owned.
I would be very surprised if LeBron James was 4% owned tonight. I got, not that we're on LeBron yet, but I got 36% LeBron on the first one. So wherever that lands, I'll be a bit higher. No problem with Giannis in this one. It's just kind of a really scary matchup.
Yeah.
It should be an interesting defensive type feat. Plus, we've got Kawhi. So people are going to stay off of Giannis, probably more so than they should.
It's just such a brutal spot. Have you seen news on him? Because I know he's questionable with his head injury.
I haven't. I assume he's fine.
But yeah, so I don't. Yeah, to me, it's just that, like, you have a Q tag on a guy in a terrible matchup, and then you have LeBron on DraftKings. LeBron's $200 less expensive. Like, you're just going to get, I think, such a discount on Giannis ownership that when I first looked at it, I was like, damn, like, I'm going to end up not playing Giannis on this slate. And then the more I thought about it, it's like, man, if he's in, he's going to end up he has slate breaking potential every single time he's on the floor, regardless of matchup, and people just aren't going to play him at all.
Yeah, I will force him in no matter what at some sort of low amount. I won't have a ton because I just don't like the spot, but I won't fire 0 Giannis bullets. That'd be crazy. I'm with you on Middleton. I don't really have much interest there. Bledsoe at 6,100 on DK is just simply too cheap. And you mentioned Brook Lopez at 4,200 on DraftKings, also way too cheap. Thoughts on Brogdon? 5,400 on FanDuel, 4,600 on DK. I don't think that I heard you say anything about him. I either missed it or you didn't.
No, I mean, the minutes are going to be there. Nothing else really is. It's kind of a guy that you're just hoping is efficient and that his teammates are efficient when he passes them the ball and that he just runs in the stats while he's on the floor. So guys like that, I never have an issue with them as long as they're cheap, because 34 minutes or whatever is 34 minutes or whatever. But it's still a tough matchup and just not a spot where I expect the Bucks to score a ton of points. So it's purely like a secondary option for me.
There we go. I don't have anything else on Milwaukee. I think you covered it well.
I'm trying to pull up, see how Brooks done against Valanciunas before.
While you do that, I'll switch it over to Toronto. 9,800 on FanDuel for Kawhi Leonard. 9,600 on DK. I'm going to have another decent chunk of Kawhi. He's just... I like it under 10K. And he's got relatively low ownership. I got 63% Kawhi on my first crunch. I won't do that. But I like having a bit of him here, especially in a situation where like he's clearly going to be going for it. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Kawhi played 40 minutes tonight.
Yeah, and he's in a spot to pick up a bunch of defensive stats potentially as well.
Yeah.
So Brook played with the Lakers. He faced Toronto once. He played 17 minutes, 15 DraftKings points. But the season before that, when he was on Brooklyn, he faced Valanciunas 3 games, averaged 1.28 DraftKings points per minute, scored at least 20 real points in all 3 games.
It's an excellent punt play today.
Yeah.
What about Kyle Lowry? 8,800 on FanDuel, 8,000 on DraftKings. Not a guy that I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah, his ownership's been pretty high lately too. It kind of just feels like a spot where he's fine and I don't have a problem with him, but people have been playing him. They've been getting rewarded for playing him. The price tag keeps like slowly rising. The guard positions are, I think there's just opportunity costs today. You know, we haven't gotten to that New Orleans game, but I've already mentioned it a couple times. But even like Eric Bledsoe at 6,100, I don't have, from a tournament perspective, like I don't have a lot of confidence in Bledsoe having a big game against Toronto. But just in terms of raw ceilings, Bledsoe at 61 or Lowry at 8K, I think if you're playing Bledsoe every day for the season, you're coming out ahead.
Completely agree. I have Lowry at 37.4 DK points at $8,000. I have Bledsoe at 34.9 at 6,100. It's just the dramatic difference.
Ibaka's a pretty good play, I think, at 5,200.
He's also 5,200 on FanDuel.
Even better.
Yeah. No problems going to Ibaka. I don't really have much of an issue with Danny Green at 5,000. It strikes me as the type of game that he'll be out there a lot. He's not going to go on the same heater that he went on 3 nights ago, but for me, it's mostly just Kawhi.
Yeah. And keep in mind the whole Brook Lopez versus Valanciunas thing. We don't even know what the matchups are going to be because we have no idea what Toronto's starting lineup is.
Yeah, Nick Nurse is going to throw those names into the random number generator. Minnesota and the Lakers?
Yeah.
Minnesota and the Lakers. 120 implied total for the Wolves, 119 for the Lake Show. Minnesota at home, fully healthy, 1-point favorites against the Lakers. This team, man, this team is ridiculous. I don't know how to have this conversation. Karl Anthony Towns is $8,800 on FanDuel. He's $8,400 on DraftKings. Karl Anthony Towns is dramatically underpriced at that number. However, I don't normally just go to manual adjustments because of things I see. I generally assume that my eyes are terrible. Karl Anthony Towns is very clearly not happy to be on the basketball court with Jimmy Butler. It's really, really awkward to watch. What do we do with Towns here tonight?
Same thing I've been doing with him all season.
Okay. That's it. I got 65% on the first crunch, and I'm going to have an overwhelming amount of Karl Anthony Towns once again.
Well, and it's a good spot for him, and I don't want to talk anyone off of him, but for me, what it really comes down to is, and again, when we do the morning show, normally it's my first look at the slate for the most part. And so like I was really happy when I realized that Whiteside is $700 less expensive, because I'm going to project him to play almost the same minutes in a really good spot at a low price tag. So that's it. I'm not just fading Towns because I'm scared to play Towns. I have someone I legitimately like more, and so I'm really happy about that. So that's going to be why I end up not having much of Towns. It's obviously a good spot, but he's not, his price tag's not still free falling. It actually has gone up a little bit on DraftKings. He's back to 8,400. So if he has a big game, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just going a little bit cheaper at center.
They got beat by 30 against Milwaukee 3 nights ago.
Yeah, that ruined what would have been another monster Giannis night.
Oh my god! I was very happy about it because I had no Giannis, and then but the 60% cat that I had didn't exactly help me out. Look, I'm going to play him a lot. We're projecting his ownership at 28% on FanDuel right now. It wouldn't shock me if we project him higher than he actually ends up and people stay off of it just because of how bad a visual performance this has been. I can see him just staying down because people are just like, I can't play Karl Anthony Towns. He looks like shit. I'm going to play him a lot. I assume that at some point in time I'll end up being right. I hope that happens before they trade Jimmy Butler. Which could be in 2 days? 3 days?
Yeah, I guess Chris can't be traded till Halloween.
Yeah. What do you think of that deal?
I don't pay enough attention to like actual basketball to feel that strongly about it. But I mean, we assume the Rockets are going to have low first-round picks every single year. So I don't know.
The protection on the 2025 pick is the interesting part of it all. If you can get unprotected Rockets picks 7 years from now, you make that trade. If there's protections on it, if I'm the Wolves, I want Josh Richardson plus X from the Heat. If you want to be a good team right now, if they get Josh Richardson plus someone else from the Heat, the Wolves are like a really good team in the West.
Yeah, I just don't know why the Heat would bother.
I don't know. Got to get somebody in somehow. Yeah. The Heat have no... they've talked about this on like Zach Lowe's pod and stuff. The Heat have no mechanism to get anybody else. They're capped out for like 3 or 4 years. So if you're just going to be running on the treadmill, at least take a shot at someone who has like the perceived high ceiling that may, like, nobody's clamoring to go play with Josh Richardson in Miami, but at least Butler's got some boys that can like want to come to Miami with him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really it. Like, otherwise they're locked into the same dudes at $15 million a year for 3 more years. So
yeah, it's
a dice roll for Miami. I'm going to play a ton of Towns. I'm not going to be playing Jimmy Butler at 9,400 on FanDuel. He's $200 cheaper than Karl Anthony Towns on DraftKings. That's interesting.
Yeah, very. Again, guard position is kind of tough to pay up at, I think. But I mean, you're going to get usage. It's a fast-paced game. He is forward eligible on DraftKings as well, which is nice. I don't have a problem with Jimmy Butler at all. I would assume that I end up with more Butler than Towns, but I'm not sure because I haven't actually projected them yet.
Yeah, I would definitely want some Jimmy Butler on DK. I don't have any interest in Jimmy Butler at 9,400 on FanDuel here. All right, talk me out of this one too. Jeff Teague, 6,600 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DraftKings. I got 60% Jeff Teague on my first crunch.
5,300 on DraftKings is stupid.
Yep.
I mean, I know that he's obviously not a usage monster with Jimmy Butler and Towns on the floor, but the guy should still play 30 to 32 minutes in a super fast-paced, pace-up spot. So it's really hard to see him fail at 5,300. And then, obviously he still has the potential to have a good game.
Yeah, I think he is one of the better plays on DraftKings tonight, just from a price perspective. He's really hard to avoid.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
It has nothing to do with Teague. It just has to do with the matchup and the minutes and the price.
Yeah, my model has Teague 3% lower than what his normal points per possession is, and I'm getting a lot of Teague. So even without making any adjustments, I'm going to have a hard time not having some, even at FanDuel at 6,600. Kind of scares me. The fact that Teague and Wiggins are the same price on FanDuel kind of scares me, but I'm going to have a little bit of Teague. There's just too many possessions in this game.
Yeah.
You want Wiggins at 5,900 on DK?
Yeah, I'd rather play Clay.
Same.
It's kind of the same player, except for I like Clay more.
I don't think we're looking at Taj or Derrick Rose or anything after that, are we? I mean, a little bit of Taj could be fine at 4,400, but
yeah, I mean, nothing that I'm prioritizing. Like, huge pace up spot. If Taj went out there and ran into a 10-10 double-double, it wouldn't be surprising. I mean, it wouldn't be shocking, but it's not like I'm clamoring to like jam in Taj Gibson.
Yeah. The only person that's clamoring to jam in Taj Gibson is the coach of the Wolves.
Yeah.
To the Lake Show?
Yeah.
Welcome back, Brandon Ingram. Crazy asshole. We'll start with LeBron James, 11.8 on FanDuel, 11.4 on DK. He should be popular. I will have quite a bit of him. I don't really know what else to say. It's LeBron James, and this is a game with the highest total on the board.
Yeah, top 10, Minnesota top 10 in pace this season, bottom 10 in defensive rating. We know the Lakers are going to push the ball as well. James in cash makes a ton of sense to me. I mean, we know that he's going to play big minutes, and he's just in such a better spot than Giannis is from a matchup standpoint. It's like the prototypical to me, like play LeBron in cash, pivot to Giannis in tournaments is just such an easy move to make. And people won't do it, which is why it's an easy move to make. But for me, yeah, I mean, LeBron's my favorite guy at the top, just in a medium projection standpoint. I am concerned about Ingram coming back. You do have we're back to where we were at the start of the season now, with more bodies, but also more ball handlers and more scorers. You have Rondo, Ingram, and Ball, who are all more than capable of running the offense for brief stints and taking the ball out of LeBron's hands. So that's another reason that I think that pivoting to Giannis in tournaments makes a lot of sense, because it's pretty easy to see the path to where LeBron has a good but not great game. And it's, because all these guys are back on the roster again. So yeah, I like LeBron. I'll be pivoting to Giannis in tournaments. I like Ingram. I think he's kind of the only guy here who's not overpriced, because we saw the price tags on most of these Lakers increase when Rondo and Ingram were out. And then now they're still pretty expensive and they're back. But you have Ingram at only 5,800, should play in the mid-30s in a good matchup with Minnesota. He's going to do everything when he's on the floor, facilitating and scoring. So I think that he's a really, really good play, I think.
I completely agree. 6,400 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DK. I got a decent amount of him. The guy that I think we need to talk about, and it might just be a FanDuel thing, Kyle Kuzma. I don't know where you land on him. He's 6,600 on DraftKings. He's 5,900 on FanDuel.
I like that FanDuel price a lot.
Yeah. I assume that he's still going to play 30-plus minutes.
Yeah.
And if he does, I love it.
Too. I think he plays around 32 minutes, but he should go back to getting minutes at the 5, which is nice, because obviously those tend to be more productive minutes. If you're going to get him out there running circles around Gorgie Jang, then those are going to be very, very productive minutes. So yeah, I think that's the thing. You're kind of trading off a couple of minutes of playing time for most likely more productive minutes in this Lakers small ball lineup. He hadn't been playing the 5 with Ingram out because he had to play more minutes on the wing. Now he can play the 5 again. So yeah, I still like Kuzma, especially at the FanDuel price. Yeah. At the DraftKings price, like I would rather play Ingram for $800 less, even though I expect Kuzma to have a good game.
I completely agree. Ingram's price on DraftKings significantly more appealing than Kuzma's, and then vice versa on FanDuel. What
are you doing with JaVale?
I got none of him on the first run. 6,600 on FanDuel, 6K on DraftKings. If I go look and see who's around him, I'd feel more comfortable spending $300 less and taking Julius Randle. Mm-hmm. Depending on where the Jonas Valanciunas news comes out, he's 5,800. I'd feel more comfortable there. Miles Turner is 5,600. Again, like I'd feel more comfortable there. Dwayne Dedmon at 4,500. I'd rather just punt it in its entirety. And then going up above JaVale, like Willie Cauley-Stein's 400 more. I probably wouldn't go that direction, but Nurkic $500 more. I would just rather have Nurkic. So
Yeah.
I don't expect to get to JaVale. No issue with it really, but he's a hard dude to trust.
Yeah. And
not a great spot either.
What'd you say?
Not a great like for him to be out there.
Right.
It's not this matchup doesn't play well for him.
Yeah, and for me, like Jared Allen's $600 less on DraftKings.
Yeah,
I have them projected for very similar minutes. I like the spot I feel more confident in Allen's minutes than in McGee's because we've seen McGee obviously playing huge minutes, and it's been great to see. He's been really productive. But when you're talking about the Lakers being able to run basically any lineup that they want now, and when you talk about Kyle Kuzma being your backup center compared to Jonathan Williams, when you projected games before, it was really easy to be like, okay, barring foul trouble, they're going to want McGee on the floor as much as possible. Now you can't say it with as much confidence because the Lakers can just run so many different small ball lineups where they get a bunch of other, very, very good young players in there to where I don't feel as confident in McGee's minutes, and then his price tag's been coming up. So it's not to say that he can't have another big game, but I would just rather go to, guys you mentioned, and in my case, Jared Allen, the one that really stands out at a similar price tag.
Any Lonzo for you?
Probably not. Just
it's a nice price.
Yeah, it is a really nice price, and that's why I don't feel great saying no. It's just that the minutes, it's hard to see a game where Lonzo plays like 35 or 36 minutes with, Rondo being there. Obviously, they're playing alongside each other a little bit, but we still just haven't seen like Lonzo go out there and play like a monster game in terms of minutes. And then he's just so dependent on facilitating an offense. And it's so hard to rely on him to do that when he's playing with Rondo and Ingram and LeBron that I don't really want. And he's only point guard eligible on DraftKings, which is a pretty big deterrent when, 90% of a slate is eligible at two positions. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice price tag, but like, I don't know, Jeff Teague's 300 less, and Teague's probably less likely to score 50. Like Lonzo probably scores 50 more often this season than Teague does, but I just think that Teague has a clearer path to beating Lonzo here enough of the time that I'd rather just play Teague.
Yeah, Lonzo's 6,900 on FanDuel. I'm not looking at him at all, but 5,600 on DK, much more appealing. The only guy we haven't talked about yet, Josh Hart, 5,400 on DK. Do you have any interest?
Not really. It's just so many bodies out there now, like so many bodies available, and even less responsibility on the offensive end. So you're just hoping even more for him to run into a bunch of rebounds and, be very efficient scoring. Ingram just kind of ruins the Lakers for me, both in terms of guys that I want to play, but also you have Ingram at guard with guard and forward eligibility on DraftKings for $200 more than Lonzo, $400 more than Hart. Like, how am I not just playing Ingram every time?
Okay. What about $5,400 Josh Hart on FanDuel? Same price. People that are around him on FanDuel. We have $5,400 Brogdon. I'd rather have Hart.
Yeah.
Justin Holiday is $5,600.
I'll take Hart.
Damian Dotson's $52.
That entirely depends on the Knicks.
Right. Fultz, $53.
Hart.
Redick, $54.
Hart.
Magruder, $56.
Hart.
Danny Green, $5,000.
Hart.
Wesley Matthews, $5,000.
Don't remember who they're playing.
Spurs, they're next.
Wes Matthews, probably.
Okay. Like, there is not a lot around his price point at 5,400. He's underpriced there. I got quite a bit of him, and I really like Josh Hart here just on FanDuel, not on DK.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you.
Cool. Anybody else here? Rondo, Lance, KCP? No,
I'm good.
Oh. Spurs and Mavs, 2 games left. Spurs 111.25 implied total. Dallas 104.75. That's 5 1/4, 6.5 point line. That math was difficult. We'll start with DeMar, 9,100 on DK. Any interest? That's pretty expensive for DeMar DeRozan on DraftKings.
Right. I'm interested in the same way I'm interested in, like, I don't know, Victor Oladipo, but like I think I'd rather play Oladipo just because it's kind of the same player except less money.
Yeah, DeMar is $300 cheaper than that on FanDuel. I have quite a bit more interest in DeMar DeRozan on FanDuel at 8,800 against a Dallas team. Did they play yesterday? Is it back to back?
They did play yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, they played Utah.
Ooh, okay. And traveling back to Dallas. Yeah, I can see
I think
myself.
they were in Dallas, I think.
Oh, were they?
I think so.
Maybe. I can see myself playing a little bit of DeMar. He didn't come up on the first crunch, but I'm also going to be adjusting exposure, so I'll start to get more of these top guys. But I think I prefer DeMar at 88 to Oladipo at 9.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Like with those two, I would just take whichever is cheaper.
Right. Or if one of them had really ridiculous projected ownership. Right now it's the same, but if one of them was like 30 and the other one was 5, I'd be playing the 5 guy.
Yeah.
Aldridge, 8,700 FanDuel, 8,800 DK. I have no interest.
No, I think that I can just do better from a point per dollar basis.
I would rather just spend $1,200 less and take Draymond Green, at least on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Rudy Gay, 6,400 FanDuel, 57 DK. I think that's a solid spot.
I think it's okay. Yeah. I'm not excited about it, but I wouldn't be upset if I had some.
You're a little bit of a gay guy today?
A little bit.
You can talk me into Pau Gasol at 4K on DraftKings as a full-on punt, but I won't like it. I don't know. I don't really have any other interest in anything on the Spurs side.
Yeah, the Spurs side I think is less appealing to me just because of their price tags than the Mavericks side.
Speaking of the Mavericks side, we'll start with DeAndre. 7,900 on FanDuel, 7,400 on DK. This is a really good spot for him, right? Like, there's not... Can Aldridge check him?
Aldridge can make life miserable for him, but it won't be on the... It won't be on, that end of the floor. On the other side, he can make life miserable.
Definitely. I'll have to go back and look at their numbers against each other, but...
They probably haven't actually matched up all that often. I don't think it would be very surprising to see, like, Jakob Poeltl get back into the rotation today.
I have him projected for 14 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's ever going to happen, it's probably here, because it's DeAndre's playing for sure. And
right.
There's no real way around that one.
Like Aldridge could play the 5 when Powell's on the floor, sure. So, but I think that Pau Gasol and Poeltl should be projected to cover at least 34 minutes.
Pau Gasol and Jakob Poeltl combined in my projections for 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Yeah. They should probably be out there for every minute that DeAndre's out there. One of the two.
Agreed. This is a really weird team right now because I feel like I'm on the things that I don't want to be on. Dennis Smith, 6,400 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DK. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him on FanDuel, so I can't imagine how much I would love him on DraftKings.
I had him in cash against Utah yesterday on DraftKings, so I'm going to be more than happy to go there. We've talked about the Spurs this year. They're a team that's really struggling defensively. They're really struggling in transition, and you have the two, or Smith's the highest frequency transition player on Dallas. He hasn't been particularly efficient in transition this year. He ranks in the 19th percentile in points per possession, but he leads the team in frequency. He's really, really cheap. He's going to play 30, 32 minutes. Yeah, I like him a lot.
I love it. Luka, 76.
I like Dallas in general.
So do I. But the one guy that I want to like is the guy that I don't like. Luka, 7,600 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DK. It's a bit more palatable on DraftKings, but I'm not going to $7,600 Luka here.
Yeah, I like him a lot on DraftKings. He is back to being guard forward eligible, which is super important to me. So that makes it a lot easier to get him in. He is right at he just barely trails Dennis Smith in transition frequency, but he's been more efficient. Ranks in the 65th percentile so far this season in points per possession in transition. He just does everything when he's on the floor as well. So I think that this is just a phenomenal spot for Luka.
Yeah, I agree. He's for 7,600 on FanDuel, and his performance so far this season, I have a hard time paying it because I just don't see him breaking me. I mean, he can. I love him. He's my favorite young player in the league. I just can't pay that much for him, honestly, like this.
For what it's worth, I do think he's been running pretty bad this season in like a lot of aspects. Like every slate it could just be a model issue, but every slate, like I've been projecting him to do much better than he has. And I do have him assist wise, like converting his potential assists to assist percentage running pretty far. I don't have the number in front of me, but I know I have him running below expectation on assists so far.
Yeah. Here's why I don't like him on FanDuel, and I'm pretty sure that when we come out of this, it's going to be just like the Josh Hart game. Klay Thompson is $1,400 cheaper than Luka.
Yep.
Tim Hardaway is $900 cheaper.
That's really close. But yeah, I mean, Hardaway, Luka outscores Hardaway a lot, but they have the same ceiling. So
Gary Harris is cheaper. Karis LeVert is cheaper. DJ McCollum is $1,100 cheaper.
Yeah, okay, I get your point.
Yeah, on FanDuel, he's just too expensive. $6,600 on DK, I think, is a very nice spot.
Yeah. If he was point guard only on DraftKings, it would be tough, but he's not. So
yeah,
I like him a lot.
Yeah, if there was some sort of dual eligibility on FanDuel and he got shooting guard, small forward, changes the equation completely. But if he's just locked in at shooting guard, there's too many dudes around him. Speaking of guys that are around him that are significantly cheaper, different position, but Harrison Barnes, $5,300 on FanDuel, $5,200 on DK. I jammed him in a lot 2 nights ago. Didn't go all that well, but he shot the ball a ton. So $5,300 Harrison Barnes is going to be in like 50% of my lineups tonight.
Played 34.5 minutes last night too.
Yeah.
So that was good to see.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have like an overwhelming amount of it. He's way too cheap. I mean, Harrison Barnes is generally like 62, 63 on FanDuel when he's healthy, so he's just underpriced by like $1,000.
Yeah, and he's got someone to defend as well. So
Brian Cotton in chat with the award for having no idea what's going on. Barnes, not enough minutes.
34.4 last night.
Yeah, if that's not enough minutes, you'll never play Harrison Barnes again.
Did you look at the rotation they ran last night yet?
I looked at it a little bit this morning when specifically going to see how many minutes that Barnes played.
I'm kind of really excited about it, and I'm kind of terrified because of it being a back-to-back. Like, they ran a super, super, super tight rotation. You got 36.5 from Jordan, 34.5 from Barnes, 34 from Smith, 36 from Matthews, and 37 from Doncic. Which, if they're going to do that again, like playing 3 Mavs in a lineup is going to be a good idea. But I just am kind of scared that they scale it back like a few minutes. Not that it changes a whole lot. It's just kind of just thinking out loud, like that's a really, really nice rotation if it happens again.
Yeah, that it's really clean. It seems to fit. They've got like the right set of backups that make everything balance well. Like if you take Dennis Smith off the floor, you bring in JJ Barea, like that's a nice backup. I love Powell. You know, Maxi's been solid this season. I like seeing Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith out there. I like the Mavs, man.
Yeah. It's shocking if you look at the game on Popcorn Machine, they have like the game flow where you can see, how the score was going.
Yeah.
It's totally unpredictable that every time the Mavericks made a, complete line change and brought in their backups, the Jazz line just shoots up.
Yeah. The one in the middle of the third quarter is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's basically like drawing a diagonal line from the left corner to the right corner.
Yeah.
I have it on the screen right now, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end up with a lot of Dallas here. I'm not happy about it. One keynote, and I don't know how much it will matter. Spurs defense this season, 5% above average in fantasy points per possession.
You're saying they're bad, right?
They are bad.
Yeah, they're awful.
They are, if we want to get really technical, they are 26th in the league. That's not good.
No, not great.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you don't have like Kawhi or DeJounte Murray on the floor. You get bad real fast.
Certainly no. I wanted to say this too. You sold him short with Lofty probably Friday. You mentioned no Murray, no Kawhi on the floor. No Danny Green either.
Yeah. I always like mentally just like blank him out, but absolutely.
I try to ever since he just casually rested his balls on someone's forehead in a Duke Carolina game. I'm almost positive it was Paulus, but I get my Duke White point guards confused. It could have just as easily been John Shire, and I won't remember.
If it was Paulus, I'm sure it was deserved.
I'm like 99% sure it was Paulus, but he yammed all over him real bad, nuts to the face. It was real rough. I can still picture watching that game live with friends, and it didn't go well for me as a Duke fan. Yeah, it was Paulus. It wasn't Shire. Same person. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Chadwick Richardson saying Paulus. Chadwick, you would know. North Carolina guy, if I remember correctly. Nuggets Pels, late night hammer. This should be a blast.
Yeah, this
nothing to worry about in this one.
Right. no late breaking news to pay attention to in the last game of the slate.
This is going to be this is going to test my patience on FanDuel. 120.75 implied total for the Nuggets, 112.75 for the Pels. So the Nuggets are 8-point favorites. That leads me to think that we don't see Anthony Davis. Or is that crazy? Is 8 points the right line if Anthony Davis is healthy?
I would think like 4 or 5. I mean, the Nuggets are really good, I think.
Yeah, I think that it at least feels slightly high.
Cantor is remaining on the bench, by the way, apparently.
Good to know. Just got a nice note that I did not notice from Jason Kelly in chat. Nikola Jokic, after a brief stint as a power forward on FanDuel, is now reclaiming his throne as a center.
Always nice when they get simple positions, right?
Of all the things to whiff on. It's like, we got point guard Isaiah Thomas at power forward.
Right.
Fuck. Jokic 10-3 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DK. I'm going to have quite a bit of Jokic at 10-3. I have no problem with it whatsoever. If Anthony Davis is, in a way, I probably like Jokic more if AD plays. That's not true. It's not true at all.
Yeah.
I clearly like Jokic significantly more if Anthony Davis isn't on the floor. But I have a hard time not liking him. He's been fantastic this season.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, if Davis isn't out there, it's just an even better spot.
What do you do with Millsap? He's a guy that's popping up a ton for me. 6,600 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DK. The guy that I feel like I don't get right all that often.
It's been really tough for me to play him this season. I'm trying to pull up the game against the Lakers.
3 for 9 from the field in that one.
My issue with him has been that so far the rotation that Mike Malone is running, it's Trey Lyles exclusively at the 4. And Trey Lyles is good. Like, he's a productive bench player. He's going to get his minutes. So I have a lot of trouble mentally saying Paul Millsap's going to play, if things go right, Paul Millsap's going to play 34 minutes and Trey Lyles is going to play 14. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Trey Lyles is going to get his 20, 21 minutes every single night at the low end. And so that means that Millsap is kind of capped at like 28 or 29 minutes. That's, what we saw against the Lakers. He played 28.2. Lyles played 21. So they played, a minute maybe alongside each other. And yeah, it looks like they maybe got 1 minute in the first quarter alongside each other. So that makes it tough for me because you just know Lyles is going to get his minutes. And so far they're playing the same position. And so it makes it tough for me to get to Millsap because I just can't get myself to, even in a ceiling, like outside of, a Trey Lyles injury or foul trouble, it's hard for me to ever get to Millsap playing enough minutes for me to really, really want him.
Yeah, I just knocked him down. I probably had him a little high. I just moved him to 29 minutes now. I think I'll still get a little bit of him just because of the way that power forward shakes out on FanDuel. He's the 4th most expensive power forward. And he's essentially half of AD. AD at 12.8, Aldridge 8.7, Draymond 7.5, and then Paul Millsap at 6.6. But the next two guys then are Ingram and Kuzma. Just, if you're not paying up for AD, there's just not a lot to like at power forward tonight. So I'll take a chance in this game that could be a just back and forth over and over and over again. Do you like Millsap more if AD sits?
I don't think it changes anything for me.
Okay. I would assume you would probably play a little bit more, ignoring like game script type stuff. I would imagine they'd play a little bit more of like, would they go Millsap at the 5 type stuff?
They haven't been. Like, they've just been playing Plumlee exclusively behind Jokic.
Is Millsap strong enough to hold Randall? I mean, is anybody?
Yeah. I mean, I guess they could. It's just Like they definitely could do that. It's just that I think Plumlee's athletic enough to be out there too, and we just haven't seen Millsap. Um, I mean, like he could have played the 5 against the Lakers if they wanted to do that.
Right. Jamal Murray seems to be getting a little dap in the chat. 7,200. I don't know where 30 was coming from. 7,200 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DK. He's not a guy that I'm getting to, and I'm still kind of nervous about his health. What do you think about Jamal Murray?
I like it. If his rotation is going to be similar to what it was against the Lakers, then I like him even more. He was out there with the second unit. Obviously he got his minutes with the starters, but we kind of hadn't seen a full like game from him since Barton went out because he had that injury and foul trouble against Golden State. Then he had foul trouble against the Kings. Against the Lakers, he didn't, and we got 8 minutes to start the game. Then he subbed out, came back in with a minute and a half in the first, played like 6 minutes with the second unit, subbed out, and then came in to close the half. So I think you could see a very, very productive Jamal Murray and like 34 minutes out of him.
He had 10 rebounds in that game.
Yeah, that was an anomaly.
Yeah, but was 1 for 5 from 3. I don't know what to do with him. If he's healthy, he's fine. I don't mind if I get him, but I'm not going to be going crazy for him.
Yeah, 6,300 on DraftKings. I'm pretty excited about him. The only thing that sucks is that, like we've talked about, Teague's really cheap. Dennis Smith Jr. is really cheap. Luka's in the same price range.
I mean, McCollum is $300 cheaper.
Yeah, that too.
Bledsoe's cheaper.
It's a spot where I like him a lot, but if I'm actually being responsible when I make my lineups, I'd be willing, just looking at price and matchup, I'd be willing to play, like 40% Jamal Murray. Yeah. But then when you factor in that it is going to start forcing guys out of my lineup that I also want, it's going to be hard to have like a ton of Jamal Murray.
Agreed. Now, a guy that I do want to have a decent amount of is Gary Harris. 7,200 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DK. I'm just sort of interested, and I don't know why. What do you think of Gary Harris today?
I like it. You get more usage without Will Barton. The minutes are locked in. It's a fast-paced, pace-up game for him. I would expect that Drew Holiday spends more time at least on Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Which maybe I guess it depends who's out there too for the Pelicans. But either way, yeah, I think that the minutes are nice. The pace is nice. He gets a nice usage bump without Barton. This is another. I love this game, but Denver also. I like so many parts here. We've talked about Murray. I like Harris. I like Jokic, and then even Monte Morris has really, really stepped up without Will Barton.
Yeah, 4,800 for Morris on FanDuel is a guy that I'm getting quite a bit of. Just an easy guy to pay down for. Feels comfortable.
Yeah, like it feels, for one, it feels like chasing points because he was incredibly good against the Lakers. But I think that you are going to see him consistently play in this mid-20s role, and it's another pace-up spot. So I'm not in love with him. He's 4,500 on DraftKings. I'm not in love with him at that price, but I think that he probably goes out there and gives you a pretty respectable performance more often than not.
Yep, he's going to be a guy I'll have quite a bit of just at that price point. Anybody else? Lyles, Craig?
No, I think that there's going to be enough value on this slate that I don't need to go to Torrey Craig and hope that he runs into a bunch of stats. Lyles, it's the flip side of Millsap. If Millsap were hurt, if Millsap gets hurt this year, Lyles immediately becomes just a phenomenal play up to probably like $7,000.
Yep,
but
completely agree.
Right now, it's like how does Lyles get to 26 minutes? And it's Millsap foul trouble or injuries like the only answer because
they're not benching Millsap.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be okay. Yeah, Millsap, you're not playing today.
Yeah, no. I think they have a team option on him for next year for 20-something million. That'll be interesting to see if it gets picked up or not.
On Millsap?
Yeah. Because they do have Lyles waiting in the wings, but if this team is good, they clearly pick it up.
Right.
Because it's not like they're replacing him with anything. They won't have the cap room. Finish this off, Pels. We're guessing here, clearly. 12-8 for Anthony Davis on FanDuel, 11-1 on DraftKings. If we don't have news, any definitive news, I'll have absolutely zero Anthony Davis on FanDuel.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
He's 12-8. I got none of him projecting him like he's playing, so I don't see any value in making sure that I get some of him just in case if I can't get him on purpose.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. DraftKings, obviously, at 11-1, you're going to get a bunch of him if you project him to play.
And if worse comes to worse, you can put AD in a lineup. He gets scratched at 9:30, and you swap to Jokic.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I think what I'll probably do if we don't have news on DraftKings is, as much as it sucks, force Davis to the center position.
Yeah.
Like it sucks because I won't get as many, Davis plus Whiteside lineups or whatever, but force him to the center position so I can just swap him to Jokic if I have to.
Yeah, and then what do you get? 1,200 additional. Trying to see if there's anything else that makes a natural jump.
I can probably get to because I assume I'm going to have pieces from this game a lot. So I'll be able to get up to more like Drew Holiday or whatever. Drew Holiday, Randall, Miro.
Yeah.
There are enough pieces that you can probably move stuff around.
Speaking of Drew Holiday, 8,000 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DK. Whether or not Anthony Davis plays or not, I'm playing Drew Holiday. If I were playing on DraftKings, I would be playing like an overwhelming amount of Drew Holiday.
Yeah, I think even if Davis is in, Holiday's too cheap for the spot.
Yeah.
If he's out, then obviously everything kind of runs through.
I mean, you should have 50% Drew Holiday if AD ends up out.
Yeah, I mean, no Peyton means the ball's going to be in Holiday's hands anyway.
Yeah. Miro, 7,300 on FanDuel, 7,300 on DraftKings. He's not a guy that pops for me, and I don't know why, and I want him to, but I don't know. He's not a guy that I would expect to have here.
I'll probably end up with I don't know. I won't end up with an overwhelming amount. I think I had like 14% with Davis out the other day against Utah. Obviously, I'll end up with him projected a little bit higher today than I did against Utah in terms of points. But yeah, I'll probably end up having Mirotic, but I would be surprised if he ends up being a core play for me.
Down $500 on FanDuel. He was 78 against Utah, now down to 73. It's all about how much you believe his usage is going to be significantly higher than it's been in the past. I don't know where I land on that just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll continue being like 29%. But for tournament purposes, I'm still pretty comfortable projecting it up, 27 and a half, 28.
So that's the thing. I don't know what has changed in the calculation of this and what site is right and what site is wrong. I think we ran into this a couple days ago. Mirotic's usage rate on cleaning the glass right now for the season is 23.5%. But if I go to Mirotic here, where'd he go? Oh, that's not the right tab. His usage on Fantasy Cruncher, 29, 17, 28, 29, 30. I don't know what the disconnect is, but I have a feeling it has something to do with the way possessions are calculated and whether or not someone's getting new numbers or old numbers. And I feel like they're dividing by the wrong number. So one of these sites, because I know NBA.com has made their changes and are now using actual possessions instead of the possession estimates for their calculations. And I don't know if that is causing some sort of issue, but on Fantasy Cruncher, Niko Mirotic has clearly had a usage rate higher than 23.5%.
Yeah, and I know Basketball Reference has the same numbers as Fantasy Cruncher, or at least they're close enough that I assume they're using the same numbers.
That makes me think that Cleaning the Glass is using NBA.com or some sort of NBA source of data that is calculating a correct amount of possessions and therefore lowering Mirotic's usage rate.
His usage rate has to be insane, though. Like, look at his minutes and look at his shots. 20 and 30, 21 and 31, 18 and 30, 7 and 23, 18 and 28. Like, obviously without doing the math, if I have to choose between like 22% and 29% for a guy that's shooting the ball 20 times in 30 minutes, I don't think it can possibly be 22.
Okay, let's go through this because I have the game logs from Cleaning the Glass too. You have it in front of you.
I just have the DraftKings game log pulled up.
Okay, so does that have usage on it?
No.
Okay. All right. What do you have for his line? I'll bounce back and forth because I think this is important. Let me split my screen here.
I'm trying to get up Cruncher while you talk.
How about I have Cruncher up and I have Cleaning the Glass up. So on the 27th, he was at 10 for 18 from the field, which is matching 28 minutes. So they're calculating the usage in the Utah game at 23.9%. Cruncher has it in at 28.9%. That's a 5% difference in usage. And I'm going to bet my life it's because they're using a different amount of possessions.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
The question then to me is, what's right?
Right. I mean, to me, the thing is, like, if this guy's going to go out there and shoot the ball consistently 20 times in 30 minutes, I want the higher estimate. Like, you know, that's a lot.
I see what you mean. There are box scores here.
And it's not like he's turning the ball over a lot. So that's not the reason that you're getting it driven up.
If I go to the team game logs, do we get a possession estimate for that game? We do not. Why would you not show pace, man? Ben Falk, you're going to get a message today from me. The reason I assume Ben Falk is using the NBA stuff is because he was a member of an NBA front office for a while. So I assume he's got decent sources of stats. It's blowing my mind because it's making me underrepresent Nico because I'm not bumping his usage to like 27 or 28. I'm leaving it at 23.5 where it's already, that number is higher than it's ever been for his career. So I don't know. It's something to pay attention to. I'm going to post to Cleaning the Glasses forum and see if we can figure out what the difference may be and which one is probably more important. Julius Randle, 6,300 on FanDuel, 62 on DK. Sure.
Yeah, especially, I mean, obviously if Davis is out.
Oh, yeah. The assumption if Davis is out is just play all the Pelicans. Because there's going to be way too much value.
Yeah.
Speaking of that value, Frank Jackson, 3,500 on FanDuel, 3,400 on DK. No Elfrid Payton tonight. I'm going to be playing quite a bit of Frank Jackson at minimum salary on FanDuel. I have no idea
how many minutes he plays. Like, the range is just so huge.
I put him in for 24.
I wish that I had any idea. Like, he could play 30 and he could play, like, 0.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that he got everything from the middle of the third quarter on through that blowout against Utah. Like, they gave him 23, which I thought was a nice test run for him. It was only -1 in plus-minus, so it's not like they even got dogged out worse. But they were also playing the ass end of the Jazz.
Well, they brought the game back. Like, the Jazz starters came back in.
Yeah. The 19-6 run in the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he played well there. He played alongside Frazier, which is, I mean, obviously Drew wasn't in, but, like, that's good. But, yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, Frazier played 13 minutes. Jackson played 23. Jackson was the first one. So, Clark was the first one in for Peyton. Jackson came in for Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Cotton in chat has basically not liked anything that I've said. If you don't think that Frank Jackson can be a minimum salary punt on FanDuel when you drop your lowest score, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Frank Jackson chucks.
Yeah, he's tailor-made to the new way to play FanDuel NBA DFS.
He ruined my preseason multiple times because he's going to go out there and shoot, and it just might not go in.
Yeah, it's the perfect spot. There's no downside anymore to playing a $3,500 punt on a day where he has the potential to play 30 minutes. He could literally play 30 minutes tonight at minimum salary. He'll fall ass backwards in the value if he does that.
Yeah. So I think from the DraftKings perspective, where you can't drop your shitty play, Ian Clark's clearly the safer of the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Frank Jackson has the higher ceiling if things break his way.
Yeah, it's a completely different play to play Frank Jackson on DraftKings than it is to play Frank Jackson on FanDuel.
Yeah.
It's not the same game anymore.
Right.
I'll probably play, like, let's say we get word that Frank Jackson is starting. I'm going to assume that he's going to play somewhere north of 20 minutes at that point. I'll probably have 30% Frank Jackson.
Yeah.
And it'll open me up to be able to roster that many more shares of LeBron and Durant and Giannis and Jokic.
It's another spot too where Davis's availability just makes a huge difference. Like if Frank Jackson, even let's say he is starting, which I doubt that he does, but even if let's say he did, him playing alongside Drew and Davis is just totally different than not playing alongside Davis.
Yeah. Another main takeaway for me wanting to play a lot of Frank Jackson is the fact that there's not a ton at guard that I want to pay up for. I don't like Simmons or Lillard. Curry's under 10K. I don't want Butler or Oladipo. Like every one of these guard positions, I don't feel like I'm losing out on anything at the high end because of it.
Yeah, all the guys that I want to pay up for, like all the way up for tonight, are forwards.
Yeah, so I'm much more likely to go to minimum salary Frank
On
Jackson.
DraftKings, I think there is a little more opportunity cost because there are so many guards that are just underpriced, whether it's Drew or Teague or Luka or Dennis Smith Jr. So that again, I think is a big difference today between the two sites. But still, I mean, as far as paying all the way up, like it's forwards.
There we go. You have anything else you want to add now? We are at an hour 56. We got 3 minutes and 30 seconds to close this out. We'll hit the 2-hour mark on the dot. You want to go position by position?
Yeah, sure.
Give me your point guards on DK.
Hang on.
Great start.
Yeah. Well, I never have like my actual projections ready yet, so I
gotcha.
Sorry, I logged out. Cool. Dennis Smith Jr., Jeff Teague. I know I like both of them a lot. Whoever is starting for whoever I end up projecting for more minutes for the Pelicans.
There you go.
Definitely a position where I plan on paying down though. I think Bledsoe's too cheap. I don't love him, but I think that he's cheap. I like Jamal Murray. So yeah, point guard kind of sucks, but
okay. I want Curry. You could probably talk me into a tiny amount of Trae Young. I like Teague. I like Dennis Smith, although I like him more on DraftKings. Making my way down. Not a ton at point guard that is very desirable. That's probably it. Let's go to shooting guard.
Drew, Doncic, Harris, McCollum. I like Clay a lot. He's probably my favorite guy, like everything considered.
I'll do some Drew Holiday. I'll do some CJ McCollum in abundance. A little bit of Gary Harris will be fine by me. Tim Hardaway, Klay Thompson, not Luka Doncic. Give me some Josh Hart. Lots to like at shooting guard today. Wow. If Dotson is starting, I think that's a perfectly feasible play. Monty Morris. And then the guy that I've just been verbally filleting for the past 5 minutes, Frank Jackson. Small forward.
Giannis, LeBron in cash, Giannis in tournaments, assuming he's going to be significantly lower owned. Brandon Ingram I like a lot at 5,800. I like Harrison Barnes a lot at 5,200. Nikola Mirotic, especially if Davis is out. And Bjelica I think is a reasonably good play as well.
I'm going to have quite a bit of LeBron. I will have spillover for Giannis. Durant, probably the guy that I don't get to all that much here. I'll have quite a bit of Kawhi. I'd love to play Jabari on DraftKings, but that's the scariest game in the world. Give me some Harrison Barnes at 5,300. Give me some DeAndre Bembry at 4,400. That's Chandler Hutchinson if you need another punt on FanDuel. Power forward.
Also if you need value at small forward, I think taking a chance on guys like Evan Turner and Nik Stauskas from the Blazers is a good spot. Power forward Davis, if he's in, obviously, I really like the spot there. Randall, if he's out, becomes a phenomenal play. I like Jabari Parker at 5,800 on DraftKings. I'll take some chances on him, I think. Kelly Olynyk at 4,900 against a big Kings front court after we just saw him play 28 minutes. Keep an eye out on that starting lineup, but I think it's a spot where we could see another pretty good game from Olynyk. And then on DraftKings, I like taking advantage of power forward eligibility for Dwayne Dedmon as well.
Jordan Gutierrez in chat. No fear for the Laker blowout, eh? So 1 point line right now. That's the game I'm fearing a blowout the least.
I just don't even think about it, so no.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, I think about it when we talk about a game when we say the Sixers are hosting the Hawks. I don't think about it in a 1 point line.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I always project games to be close, and then I'll think about blowouts as far as like, do I want 60% of this guy or 40%?
Right. AD, not a guy I'm looking at FanDuel at 12.8, especially with his current situation and the fact that I couldn't late swap him. So I'd like Draymond. I like a little bit of Paul Millsap. Love Brandon Ingram. Love Kyle Kuzma. I'll go with like a very tiny amount of Marvin Bagley so that I don't get yelled at. I think Noah Vonleh at 4,400 is a really nice punt. That is probably the extent of it on FanDuel. Centers, and we're out of here.
I like center today quite a bit. Jokic obviously at the top. I love Whiteside at 7,700. I think he probably goes a bit overlooked again today because people are under projecting him. DeAndre Jordan, I like Nurkic, and Jared Allen 5,400 is one of my favorite center plays on DraftKings.
Burn in the chat. Won't Ingram get Wiggins or Butler? Imagine thinking that those two things are the same thing.
We have one. I'm not overly concerned about it, but God, I hope he gets Wiggins.
Yeah, that would be great news for Brandon Ingram lovers out there. Center at FanDuel. I want some Jokic. I'm going to continue to cry myself to sleep by rostering an overwhelming amount of Karl Anthony Towns. I have a little bit more interest in Hassan Whiteside than I did when I started this show. Thank you, Adam. I like Nurkic 7,100. I think that's probably the best combination of upside and price after looking through every game. Julius Randle looks like a nice punt. Miles Turner looks like a nice mid-range guy. Dwayne Dedmon at 4,500, simply too cheap. Who knows how the Knicks shake out? If Mitchell Robinson plays 25 minutes at minimum salary on FanDuel, he's an absolute potential play as a guy you can drop. So we didn't even really talk about him, but if for some reason we know that he's going to be playing 25 minutes, he's at the literal minimum on FanDuel.
Yeah, I've seen Cantor on the bench. I haven't seen who's starting there. If they're going to start, like Robinson and Vonleh alongside each other is so weird.
It really is.
Yeah, so whatever. Keep an eye on the Knicks. They're going to do some weird shit. Brook Lopez, 4,200, I forgot to mention, is a really nice price too.
Yeah. Right after Burn asked, won't Ingram get Wiggins or Butler, Mark Nunez came in with the Burn, take my head-to-heads.
In all seriousness, though, the defensive thing, for one, I think it's just kind of overstated in basketball, but outside of some, a few spots, but especially with how fast the NBA plays now, like you're talking about two super fast-paced teams in the Lakers, and then, the Timberwolves are top 10 as well. Even if the idea is to have Butler on Ingram, which isn't going to be the case whenever he's on the floor with LeBron, I don't think.
No.
Even if that were the plan, there's going to be so much in transition and so much just running up and down the floor that it's not like you have teams out there anymore just running half-court offense the entire time, and it's harder for one guy to just like shut someone down. So that's why I don't think it's that much of a factor anyway. But then also like Butler, I would expect to defend LeBron anytime LeBron's on the floor.
Yeah, I care significantly more about a team defense number than I'll ever care about an individual matchup at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a center is going to that matchup is cleaner, but wing D is going to be flip-flopped all over the damn place.
Right. It's switching, and it's also when so like we're saying right now that I would assume Jimmy Butler defends LeBron. If Brandon Ingram goes out there and scores 20 points in the first quarter, I bet Jimmy Butler starts defending Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
So it's just so fluid throughout a game that I think there's a lot of noise there. I agree with you about centers. For the most part, are going to match up with each other a lot more frequently. But yeah, team defense outside of situations like when when Kawhi was on the Spurs, and whoever he was guarding would just go stand in the corner, regardless of how good they were, would just go stand in the corner so that the rest of the guys could play 4-on-4 without Kawhi.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff matters. But in general, just trying to figure out who's going to defend who in a game where, for the most part, they're running up and down the floor, it just ends up being more trouble than it's worth.
Very true. That's it, everybody. Solid 2 hours today. We can't help it. We just run long. I think it's the best show that's out there. So like and subscribe. We're back all the time. I will be back tomorrow for the first time with Laffy. Adam will be writing the deeper dive tomorrow. So myself and Laffy will be starting off in the morning, breaking down what is like a decently sized Tuesday slate. NBA Strategy is the promo code, 7-day free trial. If you're interested, you can include that on a Fantasy Cruncher package. If you've never used Fantasy Cruncher before, it might be a decent way to test it out. Adam, anything else?
Deeper dive show today at, I'm guessing, 4:45 or 5 Eastern. Laffy and myself. Laffy's article will be out around 3. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more information for that show, specifically regarding the Knicks and hopefully maybe the Pelicans.
Perfect. You guys heard it. Stay tuned for everything that we do because it's a lot of stuff every single day. Awesemo.com. We out.